Welcome to Things You Don't Know, podcast that looks at little-known events about well-known people, events about little-known people, and the impact they have had, and sometimes primarily seeks to entertain. In this episode, we will look at the brilliant and famous George Washington Carver, often known as the Peanut Man. George Washington Carver was born in Missouri. However, the exact date of his birth is unknown, because the birth dates of enslaved people were not kept. Shortly before the end of slavery, George, his mother, and his sister were kidnapped. His father had died earlier in a farming accident. The Carvers sent out a rescue party, but they were only able to save George. They sought to give the child a decent upbringing, raising them as their own son to atone for the loss of his mother and sibling. We wish to give special thanks to Hannah Finelli, Leslie Finelli, Ryan McFay, and Jonathan Weaver for their voice acting. Dr. Weaver and I also do some of the voice acting. The first scene takes place in the home of Susan and Moses Carver.
Oh my God, Moses! George and his mother and sister have been kidnapped! What are we going to do?
We can't let these thugs kidnap a mother and child. We must hire someone to find them and bring them home.
A team was sent out to find the Carter family. After some time, only George Washington Carver was found and returned. His mother and sister were never found.
It's been quite a while since the search started. So far, they've found George, but not the others. Since emancipation, he has technically been a liberated soul. But he is just an infant. I want to take him into our family. He needs us, and it is the moral thing to do.
I agree. We'll raise him as our own. I'm sure he will bring us joy.
The scene shifts forward several years.
George, you have grown into such a smart young man. I know you are not at the best at farming work, but you seem to be really good with herbs and other chores.
Yes, ma'am. I do enjoy working with plants and herbs. It seems that they are so useful in many ways. I like that you have taught me some ways to heal using these things that God gives us.
Yes, I agree. You have taken to reading and arithmetic. Do you want to go to school and see what more you can learn now?
Oh, yes, ma'am, very much. I mean, you've been a great teacher and taught me things I will never forget about household chores and plants. But it would be great to see what else I can learn.
Susan Carver taught George Washington Carver how to cook, clean, do laundry, embroidery, and make some herbal preparations and medicines. Eventually, he walked 10 miles to a school for black children. Unfortunately, he knew more than the teacher at that school. During his youth, he was castrated. It has been suggested to ensure that his close relationship with Linda, the Carver's daughter, did not result in a mixed-race child. He never spoke about it, but it led to his retaining a high-pitched voice and removing any chance of fatherhood. When Carver was about 11 years old, to be closer to the school, he moved in with Andrew and Mariah Watkins, a childless African-American couple who gave him a roof in return for his help in the kitchen. Mariah was a midwife and shared her extensive knowledge of herbal remedies with the young Carver. He spent about 2 years learning all he could at the school and from Mariah, and then moved to Kansas. Carver moved from town to town, during which time he witnessed the lynching of several black men. In 1880, he graduated from Minneapolis High School in Minneapolis, Kansas, and applied and was accepted at Highland College. However, he was denied admission when the college learned he was African American. Carver was befriended by the Mulhollands, a white couple in Iowa, who convinced him to apply to Simpson College, a Methodist school that focused on the arts and accepted all qualified applicants. While at Simpson College, Carver was taken under the tutelage of Professor Etta Budd. This scene highlights an imagined conversation between Carver and Professor Budd.
George, you have been doing very well here. There are so many ignorant people that you may have trouble making a living as an artist. You have a real talent for botany and agriculture, but you need further training. You could use your artistic talents by drawing illustrations to accompany your research in botany and agriculture. I know you have a great desire to help people, and who knows what you may discover. I know Iowa State has an excellent program in those sciences. I will help you in any way I can to achieve your potential and to gain admission.
Thank you very much, Professor Budd. I think I would like to go into botany and agriculture. People can't accomplish anything if they can't feed themselves. I'm very grateful you took the trouble to find this information for me. I'm especially grateful for your support.
I want you to always remember something. Every person who can see further than others moves the world. There are those who find any attempts at improvement a negative, and a dismantling of what is, rather than progress. When your efforts seem to accomplish nothing, I want you to picture every person who has supported your efforts feeling proud of you. It will give you strength when you need it most.
It will. I think as science develops, new opportunities will develop to improve many aspects of life.
After earning his bachelor's degree from Simpson College, Carver would have several opportunities to improve many aspects of life for farmers. Booker T. Washington's Tuskegee University was recruiting some of the finest scholars available, and Carver's vision would find a welcome audience.
Professor Carver, you know the myriad struggles of our people are going through. In order to survive, we must expand agricultural production. If we are able to demonstrate the practicality of our work, hopefully we will enlighten those who despise us. The ability to produce is more impactful than all the speeches on earth.
I share your vision. I wanted to explore another idea. Professor Scott told me that we are trying to create some sort of mobile farming display.
That's correct. The main goal is to demonstrate scientifically how to make agriculture more productive.
This is a project dear to my heart. I believe we need to approach this scientifically. We know that cotton crops grow less productive every year, which probably means the soil is not as rich. There must be a way to revitalize soil without making farmers waste the production of vital land. I believe better soil will render more nutritious food, and an improved diet will have medical benefits. Our efforts will demonstrate the self-respect of the African descent Southern community.
Afro-American people must have self-respect in order to be respected by others. We must carry ourselves with dignity. Professor Carver, I want this project to begin at once. Saturate the state of Alabama with our farm wagons. We want to start an agriculture department, and I want you to be the department chairman.
I deeply value this opportunity.
By testing soil, Before and after certain crops were grown, Professor Carver found that some crops, such as cotton, depleted nutrients from the soil, whereas other crops, such as peanuts, increased the presence and bioavailability of nutrients. This revolutionized farming practices, especially in the South. Farmers were able to keep their land producing by alternating between cotton and peanuts. The exhibition wagons were a huge success, and the department grew in stature. There was some concern over Carver's organizational difficulties.
Professor Carver, you are a great teacher, and your research is groundbreaking, but your paperwork and administrative responsibilities are far from good. Please work on that immediately.
George Washington Carver's successes soon began to attract attention all over the United States. The rotation of peanuts and cotton worked well, but produced a surplus of peanuts. There was a movement to invoke a tariff on foreign-grown peanuts, and Carver was urged to speak in favor of the tariff to the House Committee on Agriculture. A large number of politicians objected on racial grounds.
I, Congressman Heflin of Alabama, will not have the dignity of this august body soiled by hearing from an over-promoted farmer. If we are not careful, we will be entertaining every former slave and minority in the country.
I am Congresswoman Rankin of Montana. I disagree strongly. This issue is vital to the economic growth of our country, and we are consulting with an expert. If you reject his viewpoint on a foolish question of race, then you are discriminating and serving your state unjustly, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have been asked by the United Peanut Growers Association to tell you something about the possibility of the peanut and its possible extinction. I come from Tuskegee, Alabama. I am engaged in agricultural research work, and I have given some attention to the peanut, but not as much as I expect to give. I am especially interested in southern crops and their possibilities, and the peanut comes in, I think, as one of the most remarkable crops that we do not already know everything about. And you will also observe that it has possibilities that we are just beginning to find out. If I may have a little space here to put these things down, I should like to exhibit them to you. I am going to just touch a few high points here and there, because in 10 minutes, you will tell me to stop. This is the crushed cake, which has a great many possibilities. I simply call attention to that. The crushed cake may be used in all sorts of combinations for flours and meals and breakfast foods and a great many things that I have not the time to touch upon right now. Then we have the hulls. The hulls which are ground and made into meal for burnishing tin plates. It has a very important value in that direction, and more of it is going to be used as the tin plate manufacturers understand its value. Now, there is another confection. It is peanuts covered with chocolate. As I passed through Greensboro, South Carolina, I noticed one of the stores that was displayed on the market. And as I understood better, more of it is going to be made up into this form. Here is a breakfast food. I am very sorry that you cannot taste this, so I will taste it for you. Now, this is a combination, and by the way, one of the finest breakfast foods that you or anyone else has ever seen. It is a combination of the sweet potato and the peanut. And if you will pardon a little digression here, I will state that the peanut and the sweet potato are twin brothers and cannot and should not be separated. They are two of the greatest products that God has ever given us. They can be made into perfectly balanced rations. If all the other foodstuffs were destroyed, that is, vegetable foodstuffs were destroyed, a perfectly balanced ration with all the nutriment in it could be made from the sweet potato and the peanut. From the sweet potato, we get starches and carbohydrates, and from the peanut, we get all the muscle-building properties. Here is another breakfast food that has its value. I will not attempt to tell you because there are several of these breakfast foods that I will not take the time to describe because I suppose my 10 minutes time is about up. Of course, I had to lose some time in getting these samples out.
George Washington Carver's address was well received. His allotted time was extended, and eventually Congress did impose a stiff tariff on peanuts. George Washington Carver went on to be an advisor to Theodore Roosevelt, Henry Ford, Mahatma Gandhi, Thomas Edison, and John Harvey Kellogg. Professor Carver's valuable career continued until his death in 1943. He invented 96 uses for the peanut, which did not include peanut butter, which Kellogg had invented, and 107 uses for the sweet potato. His total dedication to having his products benefit the largest number of people led him to refuse or give away most patent rights. We hope you have enjoyed this look at the amazing George Washington Carver. Please give a like and leave comments if you wish. Please also subscribe and join us for future podcasts. Have a good day, my friends.